And wicked. Brrr, here we are with Andrew Eggleton. How's it going, mate?
Man, very, very good. Nice to be here with you.
Likewise. So you were just sharing with me exactly what it is you do. Tell us a bit more about that.
You know what? So I've been in the entertainment industry for 24 years. And what I really do now, and this is obviously the layers are being peeled back continuously, is I bring people into themselves. So I use the tool of presenting. I do literally make people better public speakers and presenters for camera. But by doing that, I'm helping people stand out from the rest of the crowd by simply being what is naturally them.
Okay, so that's a common problem that people get when they're presented with a screen in front of them or a crowd in front of them, or
the main challenge that people are faced with presenting and in everyday life really is that they're trying to act out or trying to be the perception of what a presenter looks like. And so there's a fair amount of this. You're copying, and you're copying, you're plagiarizing, you're trying to be somebody else or what you think your audience wants to see. And instead of being very individual and standing out by being that unique piece of art that you are, that is your gift. That's your cut through in your business. That's your cut through in everyday life, to be fair. But the people in general are so afraid of being judged, they try to model themselves after somebody else. It's living out their fantasy, really.
Yeah, lots of things are coming up as you're sharing that, like like you said, as in everyday life. So I imagine that what they think a presenter should be could be switched over to what they think a perfect son should be, or a father, or a partner, or a parent, or it could be interchangeable for whatever in that role of what they think should be.
Yes, do you know what? At the end of the day, man, you've got to get away from mass thinking. You've got to step out of the shadow of that, and you've got to get away from mass thinking and find out who the hell you actually are. And the easiest way to do that is to put one foot in front of the other and make mistakes and fail, and by that succeeding as well. Discover what it is that makes you tick and build layers upon your character. And the only way to do that is in equal amounts fail and success. Unless you get up on stage and fail, you will not have success. It's impossible. It doesn't work like that. You learn to present original ideas from an original personality. And that's why people will listen to you.
And yeah, it reminds me of something I've heard. I don't know where I've heard it somewhere, that if you're not cringing at your first, whatever presentation or podcast or episode or whatever it is, then you waited too long.
Do you know what's funny? I mean, I've been doing this, as I said, 24 years. And whenever I watch myself present, I have an online panel show, and I still watch it after 24 years, and I cringe in places because I can see I'm leaning too far and pushing, and I'm trying to be funny or I'm trying to be smart. And then when the places, there's no difference between who I am now and who I am in front of the camera in a lot of parts, but I can see pieces where I'm in my head and I'm not embodying the whole Andrew.
Talk to us about being not in your head, because that's something that I use as well, and something, teaching qigong, movement, breath, presence. It's something that keeps coming back. But from your perspective, how do you utilize that concept in what you do?
The bottom line of presenting to me is it's presenting as a feeling. And that's what I actually teach in my classes, my workshops, my one-on-ones. Everything is, people always ask me, why aren't you recording this? And I'm like, because I don't want you to think about what you look like. The thing is, I'll go back to when I'm on the panel show and hosting, it's not what I look like. I can just see that I'm not in my body. I'm thinking too much. And when you drop your presenting from your head into your heart, you there's a feeling. You can feel it. It's this beautiful raw power. And that power is not like, no, it's not an ego trip. It's a power of you are all there. You're within yourself. It's like, it's this beautiful, it's almost like, hey, Andrew, there you go.
Oh, there you are.
There you go. There you go. And that's what people will buy into. So presenting is a feeling, and I can see it every single time when I just keep people, I will find a way to pull them through, and I will see that spark go off in their eyes. And I'm like, there you go. There she goes, or there he goes. And then you go, how did that feel? And every single time, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So is that something that you can anchor in somehow, or like it's just repetition? Like, how did people drop? Like, I imagine that did it take you a while to unlearn some stuff over those 24 years, and there was a moment where you got it, and then you started practicing that? Like, how does it work for you, and how does it work for people?
I'm trying to remember the two things here. Unlearning. So effectively presenting for me is an unlearning. You're unlearning all the things that have been layered upon you to protect yourself. And you do that when you get in front of a camera or a live audience. Again, you go into that fantasy, or you go into that character that you feel that they want to see to protect the real you. Now, your audience will not buy into that. Some will, but then you really want your tribe to buy into you, don't you?
The people that you actually resonate with, the actual you.
Yeah, yes. You want to work with and get clients that literally go, do you know what? Today I'm working with Andrew, or today I'm working with Simon or Mary, and I love working with them. You know, they fill my cup back up too. And you know what's really interesting is that in my 20s, before I even had a job presenting, I had this gut feeling that I wanted to change the way people present. And I wanted to affect...
You weren't quite certain, it was more the feeling.
Mate, I had no bloody idea. No idea. I didn't even know how to present myself. I was awful. Yeah. The first job that I ever got presenting, I made my co-presenter cry. That's how bad I was.
What do you mean? Tell us that story.
This was live on TV. It was my first job. And I'd hounded this TV producer to give me to go on a music show with Miranda was her name, and I thought that everything that I said had to be super poignant or really funny, and that's a lot of pressure to put on myself. That's a lot of pressure, and so obviously I collapsed under that pressure. And my co-presenter ran out of the room, left me live on air, having no experience how to anchor a TV show. And it was just a mess. And this is why I'm so good at helping presenters, because I wasn't naturally good. I had to work my butt off to get to where I am now. And through hundreds, thousands of blocks, of which now when people are in front of the camera or speaking live, I can see what they're going through. I can feel them. I can feel them, and I know, okay, I remember that place. Now this is what I'm going to intrinsically want, or using my intuition, this is what I'm going to give you to help pull you through. Then in my 30s, bro, I was presenting a lot at this stage, like, you know, it was one of my pretty much full time. But every time I came home, my partner would ask, how'd you go? And I was like, there's something missing. I'm presenting, but it was lights, camera, action, smile, and here's Andrew Eggleton, the caricature of himself. And what I was saying back then is I wanted to give my audience more. If they were going to judge me, at least have the whole picture of what I was like to judge me by. And the only way I could shift people in front of the TV was to allow them to be the example of which I speak of. The audience are only going to go as deep and as far as you're willing to go yourself. And that's where I am now. So when I'm presenting now, I try to let it hang out, man. I literally want people to know this is me. I'm being vulnerable. I'm speaking from the heart, but yet I'm still smart enough knowing that I've got a story to tell. I'm clear on my message. I know who my audience is, but you let your audience feel you.
And that is that's one of the major lessons that you've learned along the way.
without a doubt, is in a live audience is to create the flow of energy between you and your audience. You can't do that if you've got masks on. The energy will come to you and you're blocking it, basically. You're blocking it because you're afraid of what the energy is going to do to you or affect you or pull you out of that little comfort zone that you're in. And if you're open to it, the energy flow in the room is amazing. You know, it just moves.
Is that I'm just curious as to, like, are there signs or indicators that you can feel within yourself when you know that the mask is on, and what can you do to catch it in the moment and then dissolve it or to take it off? Or
there's a feeling naturally, I think, in that first few minutes of any, especially when you're speaking live, that it's an uncomfortable feeling. You know your audience is judging you, and that's okay, because that's going to happen every single time. So you get used to that. But you're also trying to feel into it and release your masks. And the easiest way is to, at this point, not try and fill all the gaps or silences with meaningless words. Is to just keep looking at your audience and hold that space for each other. And it's very vulnerable. When you're doing this, it's a very vulnerable place to be, because if you're up there and you're going, okay, I've got 50 people looking at me and I'm not talking. But it's holding that space and allowing things to flow. When you're confident enough in that, because remember, when you're doing that too, you're picking up on people in the room that are anxious. Some could be angry from their morning or their afternoon, whatever's happened. Some are filled with love, and you're just trying to bring that vibration of the room up by continuing that. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be open and open. And, you know, we talk about the frequency of love. That when you get that shifting in a room, it's kind of unstoppable, because you shift hearts and minds.
And how specifically, like, all right, you notice that uncomfortable feeling. Is there, I don't know, like, do you breathe? Do you visualize something? Are there any kind of tools that you use to drop in, as you say?
Yeah. Do you know what I call out what I'm feeling? So sometimes I will say, someone's very anxious in this room. I need you to relax, because you're making me fucking anxious. Do you know what I mean? If I'm feeling anxious and I don't get anxious before a presentation, this is normal for me, right? So if there's anxiety, it's coming off somebody else. And if there's a sense of panic or stress, I'm picking up on it. And I just look around the room and I soften what's happening. It's like, I want you all to breathe. Start breathing. This is going to be a good hour, or this is going to be a good half day. You know, let's get into everybody's, you know what I mean? It's boosting that call it our feeling. You know, if I'm, and by doing that too, you actually release all that power. You release, as soon as you call out anxiety or being nervous before talk, as soon as you release that, it's gone.
Yeah, nice. And for you, is there, like, I'm just imagining, you say when you first started it was awful, you know, that first presentation or that first being that anchoring role. Are there people who do, like, the way, being the presenter or being the caricature of themselves? Are there people who do that really well, or is there a place and a time to do that?
Yeah, there's people who do that really well. I mean, the thing, I guess the thing here for me is, it's so much more rewarding when you're turning up as yourself, because you don't need to change your frame of mind. The thing is that when people go to present to camera or get on stage, is they sit backstage and prepare. You know, I need to get in the right space, and people wait for the feeling to come before they present to camera, instead of just starting and the feeling will come. You know what I mean? Just start and the feeling will come. Don't wait for the feeling. People do that really well, but what I found is the marked difference is that the reward of the authenticity and the real raw power you get from presenting as you, as authentically as you can, it's like a drug. Once you do that, you'll never go back to the old way of presenting again, because every time you did, your heart will tell you no.
Yeah, it's like no, this isn't the real.
That's it.
It's a fabrication, or it's a imitation.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're kind of, the people who are very good at it they've gone and learned sales techniques. They've gone and learned the NLP and the sales. And if you go and stand on this side of the stage, it means this. And I'm signaling with my left arm, that's the future, and this is the past. And you're basically manipulating your audience. Mm-hmm. Now, do you want to manipulate your audience, or do you want to influence your audience in a positive way? So the people that want to buy into you they're genuinely on your wavelength. They want to spend time with you. Mm. That is the difference, I think, between a real leader in this day and age and someone who's just wants to be a leader. Do you know what I mean? The more that I am, the more I let my guard down, and the more that I know it's a bit of a cliche, but unapologetically myself, the more people are buying into what I'm doing, because it's having such an amazing positive shift. And I would never have imagined in my 20s, when I had that little gut feeling of wanting to change the way people present, I never would have imagined 20 years later that it looked like this.
I had no idea, like just trusting in that intuition.
Yeah, man. And lots of gray areas and years which just disappeared. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's an incredible, I feel very blessed that I travel around the world now, and I drop people from their heads into their hearts, really, and when they're presenting, and it's making the world a more authentic and real place. It's kind of like the art of connection. How do you connect with your audience?
And is that, I know you mentioned it before, like of you just keep going and go, that's the place, there you go. How can people do that without you there? Like, how can they do that by themselves, or do partner work, like specifics that they can take with them?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question. I'll tell you what, this is an exercise. I call it the presenter's expansion exercise. And look, this is that little funny place. This when this happens to me all the time. And sometimes you're just like,
sorry, you got you breaking up there. So I'm just going to get you to repeat from "this happens to me all the time."
This happens all the time as we reach new spaces in our life where all of a sudden you get that feeling of, okay, time to move on again and focus on the new. Does that my internet connection?
Yeah, the internet connection's
just
bugging
raw at the moment. Yeah, this is welcome to Australia. Where did I lose you?
Just start again from "this happens all the time."
Okay. So I've had the thing is, I'm becoming aware of what this feels like. So you could be going along swimmingly, and then all of a sudden you get this feeling of, oh, I need to expand again. I'm growing again. I need to speak to a new audience again. I'm shifting up and shifting up and shifting up, or shifting out. And you kind of have to let the old go and focus on the new. And the expansion is, the trouble is when we move up, where there's all of a sudden everything around us doesn't really suit that need, if that makes sense. So you're moving up, all of a sudden the people around you don't have the answers that you need anymore. Like, you're moving into another lonely place.
That's quantum leaps.
Yes, quantum, beautiful. Yeah, it's quantum. Yeah, exactly. Quantum leaps. So I constantly, when I feel that, I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. Okay, why do we have to go through this? Because everything is so good. I've got full workshops, traveling around the world. Why do we need to keep moving? Let's just sit here and enjoy this. But if you've got a higher purpose and you've got this drive, you have to allow yourself to expand. And that expansion is in the way you're exactly what you just mentioned. It's like quantum physics is, what do I look like in 1 year's time? So as a presenter, what do I look and feel like on stage? And you just imagine that. I mean, some people love music to exercise with, but I just sit and I imagine my body position, me holding power on stage, my words being strong and embodied in myself. I imagine the faces of the people around, the inspiring, the claps, what does that man look like? The people I'm hanging with, the dinners that I'm having with the people, the way that I've got my strut on, the way that everything is the people. Does that make
physiology, the experience,
everything.
as if in real time, as if like through your own
Yes.
eyes, or watching yourself on a screen, or how is it for you?
The lack of fear, like it being the new normal. You're in your new normal now again. It's like, this is my second nature. It's scary at the moment because I don't have the tools yet. I don't know what I don't know. But unless you expand into that space and occupy it, then you will never get those tools. It's embodying that new person. What am I like in a year's time? And now you start to embody that. It speeds up that process.
So is that something you prescribe to people, you suggest, or you do yourself often? How often would you?
I do that every time I get that feeling. And
so it might be mid presentation, or
yes. So on Sunday, it was the first time I actually really did it mid presentation. I realized that my posture wasn't as strong as I wanted, and the way that I was holding myself and what I was saying wasn't as strong as what I needed. So halfway through my presentations, I kind of stopped and pulled my body together and started to embody my words. So I was really meaning what I was saying.
Yeah.
It was different than me going, hey, these are my thoughts, and I'm just kind of like passing them on, to this is what I fucking believe in, and this is what I've learned, and I'm handing this over to you as your things that's taken me 24 years to learn. Do you know what I mean? I'm giving you this gift. Instead of, hey, thanks for sharing this time with me, and I won't take too much time on stage, and you know what I mean? It's like, right, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah. I've got 1 hour, and in that time, I'm going to give you as much fucking goodness as I can.
Yeah. So it's a lot there, like physiology, changing your shape to get back in that state. And yeah, it's like really taking a moment and stopping to make the decision. And it's almost like you're answering the question, why the fuck am I here? And what do I want to do? And you're answering that in the moment. Yeah, it's cool. And for you, are there any standout memories that you have where like things shifted for you when you went from like just not really knowing what you were doing to really going, yeah, I actually feel like I'm pretty solid in this right now?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you in January this year, I didn't know anyone really in Australia. And
where were you based?
I was based in Bali at that time. And then I went back to New Zealand, and I was sitting really in that gray area. I had all these wonderful skills, and I just wasn't using them to the effect that I was.
So we got this
person that I imagined. Did a tour of it was like. Can you hear me?
You were in the grey area, and you had all these skills, and you weren't using them to.
Yeah, I wasn't using the skills to create influence as well as I could.
Yeah.
And I remember being in this Melbourne workshop, and I was standing up in front onto this full workshop. And instead of trusting myself, I was basically up there regurgitating other people's information.
Mm.
And there was this moment where I just looked at everybody and went, what am I doing? Like, they're here to hear me and this gift that I have. And here's me just basically copying somebody else's stuff, trying to be, I guess, a hybrid of 3 or 4 different people.
Mm.
And it was that moment of just stopping. And then I just said, everybody throw your workbook away. And I said, right. And the first person to get up with was a guy named Caleb. And I got Caleb up in front of the camera. And I sat down with my pad and my pen. And I said, I want you to talk about something that you're passionate about. And all of a sudden, as soon as I allowed myself to trust myself and the gift that I have, my pen just started moving and this shit just started flowing through me. And that was the moment everyone in the room just went, wow. You know what I mean? It was that penny dropping of, if I trust myself, I'm going to be awesome. If I don't trust myself, I'm just going to be another number.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically the moment and the start of this amazing growth spirit that has been 2017.
Yeah, cool. And what did that look like, and how did that affect your year and your decision making and the way you go about things?
Man, good question. It gave me this, it gave me a template to work from, as in get people up and work and let the goodness pass through you and pass it on to them. And trust that every single time it's going to come. And what it also gave me was this amazing sense of confidence that all I had to do was get around Australia and go into cities and get bums on seats. And once they saw what I can do and how I change people, I wouldn't need to go around running, telling people what I do, because the word of mouth will do it itself. And that's what happened. It was just that tipping point around mid-year, around about May, where it was all word of mouth. Mm. So I was filling workshops. I was filling workshops by just the word of mouth, because I trusted this little gift that was happening.
So it's like that. I'm just laughing because it's like, yeah, it was literally 24 years to overnight success.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. You know what? I get asked that all the time. It's like, oh, how did you build your business so fast this year? You know, you've kind of been an overnight success. And you go, wow, if you only knew. If you only knew how many mistakes I've made, how many opportunities I've blown, and
from January to May, what did that look like on the ground? Like, what were the actual practicalities of it?
Oh man, I moved from Bali to New Zealand in December, and then by May I moved from New Zealand to Australia, and from the practicalities were dropping everything I owned in Bali, and then getting everything out of storage in New Zealand, sending it to Australia, into Melbourne in the middle of winter, having no idea what I was going to do or where I was going to live. And just this massive trust that as an entrepreneur, as this gift that I'm now very aware that I have, is going to be able to pay my way on an international stage. Mm. And I just keep trusting. I just kept making new tours of Australia. I hustled a lot, and there was times when, man, I was a bit of a twitching, crazy wreck because I was really pushing myself. And the more that I've done it, and the more mistakes that I've made, the more I'm starting to be able to ease back and realize that it's just this beautiful sense of trust. Mm.
So you were, when you say I kept going around Australia, did you just book like what 5 flights, 5 cities and hotels, and just did you have a team of people doing marketing and stuff? How did you put the bums on the seats?
Just me, man. The way I did it was a little bit by accident. For example, this is one way. I had to cancel my first workshop in Brisbane because Brisbane and Perth, because no one turned up. Right? No, I didn't get any bookings. So I started reaching out to all the influencers, the leaders, and introducing myself. And then once they did their homework, they realized that I had a decent background and possibly knew my stuff. Then I would go to their workshops and introduce myself. And by this time, that enough confidence to go, do you know what? I'm just like you. And I would introduce myself to everyone in their workshops, create that network. And then when I left, when I did Brisbane again, I just sent invitations to all those people that I met. And then I got them to share it on into their social network, right? So it's referrals. And that time I filled the workshop in Brisbane and in Perth. And then I started working on Sydney. And then I started working, on retreats in Bali. And then I started working on expanding my network into Europe and then the US. And I just did it the same way every single time.
Yeah, beautiful. So it's just that's the hustle that I'm digging into, like what the specifics look like, just so we can have an idea.
That was the hustle. That was my step. Was really working on referrals instead of jumping on social media and shouting out, "Hey, I'm really good at this. Come to my workshop," which everyone does, right? I built a rapport with people that were already leading, and the funny thing is when you build this rapport with them, that when they turn around to you at that opportune moment and they're like, "Hey, you're going to buy into my program," and you go, "No, because I don't want to be under you. I am you." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I am you, and I can help you just as much as you can help me. And once you start to get that beautiful sense of trust and momentum, you do become unstoppable. The only person that can screw this up for you is you.
Yeah. So having that faith and that belief in yourself as well, backing yourself.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's days where I feel like I've got blocks or that I'm not good enough, or that what if I have that silly little question again, like, what if no one comes to my workshop? And it's never happens. This, for months and months and months and months, it's always nearly full.
Yeah. And
there's still that little old story running in the back of the head going, but Andrew, what if no one comes to your workshop? And you've got to go, hey, that's, it's being aware enough to go, that's old stories now.
Yeah.
The new story is how much more value can I add? Now I'm 11 months into this. How can I add more value? How can I structure this better? How can I make a template that helps the people at this level and then this level and then this level up here?
Yeah, they sound like a lot more useful questions to ask oneself.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of figuring out. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I was just teaching people how to present right. They get in front of a camera and then the audience, and then they present, and then I just allow all my 24 years of experience plus the stuff that just seems to happen through me, and I pass it on. And then now it's each couple of weeks or a month seems to peel back layer upon layer upon layer, and now it's really about dropping people into their heart. And when I do workshops now, it's changing people's stories and changing the way they look at themselves and and how empowered they are and their story that they're using. Yeah, it's a beautiful process. I feel very, very lucky that I got to this point. And you keep thinking, if I'm growing this fast, where am I going to be in 1 year and 2 years, and how many positive changes can I affect on people in the next 12 months and 24 months?
And that's a common focus for you. You keep bringing yourself back to that question or to that focus, that that is your intention to grow, or is it just to come back to the moment and ask yourself, what do I want to create? How much, asking yourself these questions, how many people do I want to bring value to, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I keep bringing myself back to is I'm going to have massive impact on the way that people connect. Mm-hmm. And it's coming down to an absolute raw level where there's no manipulation. I'm going to, within a template or a structure, being the technical, right? I'm going to use my heart and my intuition to influence people and come back to the absolute raw level of connection.
Is that doable? Is that doable via like pre-recorded things, or like for you, is it only like, do you imagine or do you already teach this stuff through like pre-recorded stuff, or things that people can do where they can't reach you, where they can't come to you in one-on-one or in a group and learn from you in a live workshop? Or
there's nothing like being in the presence of somebody. Do you know what I mean? But when you're working on camera, so when you're doing pre-recorded stuff, there is such a different feeling of when you're presenting as this is. I'll give you an example. CEOs and executives, like ex-corporates who come into the entrepreneur world, their biggest, to be fair, their biggest failure or challenge is that they are trying to sell themselves or their business, but they're still speaking like a CEO or an executive. And there's no connection in that. So it's literally softening and allowing you to be vulnerable, and that your imperfections become visible, that you're not afraid of your imperfections, because at the end of the day, your imperfections are the window of which you let your audience in.
The imperfections are the window through which you let your audience in. Well, I that just brought the funny visual to my mind of people sneaking in through the window. It's like you could also just open the door. But I hear you.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your your question.
It's like whatever, regardless, the similar principles will still apply.
Yes. Yeah. If you're fronting anything, if you're pre-recording video and you relay or watch that video back and you are cringing, that means that somewhere in there you're not recognizing yourself, right? That's our main thing. You watch it and go, I don't even recognize this person on camera. Yeah. And it's because you've shifted into somebody else. You're trying to be that fantasy of what it should look like instead of just being you.
Yeah. And is there, again, I just keep coming back to sort of techniques that are applicable. So we've shared some. Are there any kind of, like mind tricks that you do? Like, do you visualize the audience as someone, or do you stick to certain topics that you know about? Or do you feel into a part of your body that you're, I know you shared some, but are there any more? Like,
these are two things I do. This is two things I do. There's an exercise which I stand off camera and then on camera, off camera and on camera. And I do that as much as I need to, and I constantly go, there's no difference between me now and then on camera. There's no difference between me now and now on camera. And that means I'm taking a step to my left or right off camera. There's no difference.
Show us what it looks like with the video there.
So this is the camera, right? Here we go. So I'm going, there's no difference between me now and on camera. There's no difference between me now and on camera. There's no difference between me now on camera. See, what happens is that this is a crazy thing. It's so simple, right? But people go, there's no difference between me now and on camera. And then they get onto the camera and they go, there's no difference between me now on camera. And if there's anything different, if you're raising your eyebrows, if you're going bigger in energy, if you're doing something that is outside of what you're doing off camera, you're turning into somebody else. And if you want, we're business people, right? if you want to attract your real tribe, if you want to get sales and leads with people that you genuinely want to work with, they need to see who you are. Mm. That is how the majority of people end up with working with others, that they're going, how on earth do I keep working with people that I don't enjoy? And then you have to ask, well, what are you doing? They're a reflection of you, right? So if you're on camera and you're pretending to be somebody else, like we do again and again and again, that's who you're attracting.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's kind of like, it's that day you look in your diary and you're like, man, I'm working with Sarah again today. God, I hate that hour. Okay. You're like, why do I keep picking up these drop kicks, you know? And then down the line, it's always turns into a messy relationship, or there's some sense of unsatisfaction from you and your client. You know, it's kind of like you fooled them. You're like, haha, this is who I really am now. And they get to see you and you go, well, actually, I don't even like you anymore. And that doesn't happen when you're attracting people in your real tribe.
It's like you become like the real force, you know, the real magnetic force that you are. You're attracting this, you know, your same vibration.
Yeah, that same frequency and vibration. And again, just going back to that little exercise, this is who I am, there's no difference. This is who I am, there's no difference. This is who I am, there's no difference. Just going back and forth and back and forth. And you keep doing it.
The camera's rolling the whole time and then you just step in.
Yeah, I do, because you just simply, if you shoot it on your iPad or laptop, you just clip the front and the bottom. You know, it's a real simple thing. Yeah, mate, it's Facebook Lives are different, but because you don't get that opportunity, but you just press record after you've been doing that for a little minute. And
talk on Facebook Live, because I know a lot of people who, I would never do that, or that's the scariest thing, or I don't, you know, there's a lot of fear around that. Is that something that you became comfortable with, or that you've seen people become comfortable with?
It's the beautiful.
I'm going to turn this.
Do you know what I have just an amazing. I have an amazing or 100% success rate of getting people to do Facebook Lives.
Tell us about that.
I always suggest people call out at the beginning and going, I'm a little bit nervous, because as soon as you name that and call it out, it disappears. And the key with Facebook, actually any presentation, live or Facebook Live or to camera, is allow there to be silence. It's okay for there to be space and silence that no one is talking in. Because if you look on a little bit and you're just digesting what you're going to say, your brain is leading the way, and you're just choosing the next right word that's going to leave your lips that you're going to color your sentence with, that means that when your mouth actually opens and you deliver that sentence, you've put it into this beautiful soundbite that your audience can take away. So when your mouth, this is Facebook Live creates dribbling messes out of people, you know, that mumbling, that waffle runaway train. And the key is literally keep choosing the next right word. Be consciously aware of choosing the next right word, not the other way around where the words are just flying out of your mouth and your brain's going, holy shit, man, I've got no idea what we're even talking about now. Where are we going with this?
You're trying to keep up.
Yes, it's impossible.
They're dragging you on a ride. Yeah.
Yeah, man. They are. Your mouth is dragging your brain on the ride, and your brain's just like, I'm freaking out here. I'm not in control.
So that one there, so naming whatever it is, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm sweaty, I don't do this often. Is it making an excuse? Oh, sorry, if I'm this or that, or is it like, what is the like correct way to go about that, or the way that is actually helpful?
The way that's helpful is just to name it and just going, God, I bet this is my first Facebook Live and I'm really nervous. And then but I'm going to talk about today.
I might waffle a little bit. Sorry about that. Do you apologize, or do you just go, I'm unapologetically being like this? Or
yes, I'm going to be unapologetic about this and just do it. And then at the end of it, I'm going to pat myself on the back. The other thing to do is that first 30 seconds, that first 10 seconds, 5 seconds, be really clear what you're going to talk about. Just simple. Like, I'm going to give you 3 really hot tips to be a better Facebook Liver today. Yeah. And not waffle about, hey, I'm Andrew Eggleton. No shit. They know that because your name is above the Facebook Live. Hey, I'm Andrew Eggleton. Today I've been having these thoughts and I just wanted to share with you all today. And I'm like, man, I'm bored already. So I'm going to share with you, I know Facebook Live can be really challenging, and I'm going to share with you today 3 awesome tips that makes this much easier for you. Number 1, blah, 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 blah.
Straight
Number 2,
into it.
Number 3, you do. And then as people are coming onto your Facebook Live, just go, hey, John, Sarah, I was just talking about 3 amazing tips to make your Facebook Lives more effortless. I'm just going to reframe that again for you. So number 1 was this, and number 2, and then number 3. And actually, while I'm here, you can start. You see how that first minute or 2 minutes, you've already given them the value. And then as people come on, you can, because people on Facebook Live, people drop in and out, right? And so you're just constantly, like, honestly, you can repeat things. You can regurgitate the same information 3-4 times.
Yeah. And
people will see you go, okay, I've heard this. Now he's repeating himself. I can leave. But they've written down those 3 things. And then as you pop up, you're like, hey, bro, nice to see you. Look, so you wouldn't have heard that last point. Number 3 was this. It's being really clear on what the value is that you're adding to your viewers. Like, they're there for the value that you're adding. It's not how good you are as a Facebook Live. You've got to take the pressure off yourself. No one's there to judge you on how good you are. They're actually wanting the information that you're sharing.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one thing that helps the people. You said you have a high success rate with having people actually step up and do it. That's whilst, those are some tips. Is that why people are struggling? Because they're a bit unclear on what it is they want to share, or they're a bit concerned, or they're focused on the wrong things, such as people are judging me and,
I think
what it is they want to share.
Well, they have this perception in their head, the fantasy of what a presenter looks like. And they're so used to seeing Ryan Seacrest and other who are really good on TV, is that entrepreneurs, not TV presenters.
Yeah.
That's the difference. We're entrepreneurs. We're not TV presenters. We're not meant to be this beautifully polished performance. We're not being paid tens of thousands of dollars to host a show. We're just passing on entrepreneur and business information to one another.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're just telling stories. Sometimes we're giving away free information to show others that we're an authority on something. This is, I'm going to show you how good I am at presenting coaching by giving away free information today.
Yeah.
And you'll see the language that I use, and you'll get to see a bit of an insight into me. And the other stuff is in the sales videos. If you've got an event, then you get up there and tell people, but you've got to build that rapport first. Your first Facebook Live probably shouldn't just be about your sales video. It should be getting people to know who you are.
Telling a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Like, tell stories. I mean, I'll leave you with another little exercise. And honestly, my wall used to be just full of Post-it notes. Is I wrote down on 100 Post-it notes, for example, each one was something that happened in my life, or a period of my life that has shaped who I am now and what I do. And it then becomes my story. So when you go to do a Facebook Live or a video or get up on stage and talk, you've got this armory of stories to use. So for instance, the way that I write these days, which is, I love writing, but that was influenced from when I was a 5, 6, 7-year-old living in a country town with, it was just the school and there was only 8 kids and my dad was the headmaster. And in the weekends and at nighttime, especially in winter, I had nothing to do except go help out the farmers. And if I wasn't doing that, then I would just go to the school and sit at my desk, because I had the school key from my dad, and I would write. I would just write crazy stories. And that's why now my imagination and my creative writing is so damn good, because of what I did when I was 5, 6, 7 years of age. So if you've got 100 of those stories sitting on a board and you know them all off by heart because you just keep using them, you've got ammunition all the time to share stories with people.
And there's something always relatable as well, and you're passionate about it because it's you. People,
yes.
They say stay in your own lane, and that way you'll never be lost for words.
Yes.
If you're talking about stuff you know about, and ourselves, unless you've got amnesia, is probably the thing we know most about.
Yes. Well, they're called emotional cues. Like if I walked into and I was doing a presentation to 100 people, the first story I might tell is about how I grew up on a farm in a country school in 1987 or whenever the hell it was. Actually earlier than that. And I would literally watch around the audience and see the audience nod. So, okay, that group over there, that person there must have grown up on a farm, because I can see that they know, that they get that story.
Yeah.
And then you're just looking around again and go, okay, I've still got 90 people in this room that haven't yet resonated with me. What's another cue that I can drop? And you could just go, hey, I bet some people in here have had some hard times, and I don't want to go into mine, but these are some of the amazing things I learned through that period. And then everyone who's had a hard time, or some challenging periods, or their body is broken, or they've had depression or whatever, then you see those other little heads nodding. Oh, yes, yeah, that was me. And you're like, okay, that's another 30 people in this room. Now I've only got 60 to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, got their attention, got the connection.
Yeah, got their attention, and yes, the connection. That's it, exactly.
Sweet action. There's a ton we could continue going on for, but
it's a lot of
stuff.
Information.
There's a lot of things that triggers. When I have these conversations, I just allow whatever wants to come through into my awareness, into my field to come in, and then all these threads start opening in my mind, and I've got a ton of them, but I don't have a ton of time. So let's wrap up for now, but I would love to continue the conversation in the future if you're up for it as well. So
yeah, of course.
That window is open if you want to break in through it.
I love just leave it open, man. Just leave it open. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Diving through it. But just finally, there's probably a couple of things. So is there, in terms of the future, this question's been actually burning throughout, and I've not asked it, but recently been having conversation with actually some of my clients talking about this idea of bigger and better and reaching a mass audience and having this kind of large influence. And if this is this causing anxiety, thinking that, am I not making big enough impact? Am I not okay as I am? I just would like to just hear your thoughts on this kind of idea of being enough.
Nice. It's a great question.
Play it small, and
I was actually just talking about the same thing. The thing is, if you get that feeling, like I was talking about earlier with you, is that feeling of expansion. Everything's running smoothly, and all of a sudden that feeling in your gut is like, do you know what? I don't want to do this workshop anymore. Now, if you continue to do the same and play at that level, there's just going to be this point where you burn yourself out because you're actually not filling your cup up anymore. There's this intrinsic DNA or something in you that's like, okay, what you need to expand to grow into your next part, into your next stage. That to me feels like an organic calling. But I think the challenge that people are having is there's such a desire to constantly improve that they're forgetting that they're already perfect.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is unhealthy. When you're constantly going, I'm not good enough, I need to keep upskilling and improving and getting another coach, and you're constantly taking on this information and moving, you've actually got to get that. You have to first get that feeling that the time is now to grow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Enjoy that process, enjoy the ride for where you are right now, and your body, and whatever it is, when it's time to move. And the more emotionally aware you are, that you realize, you just notice it. You go, okay, it's time to move again. I can feel it. It's time to move. But there's no need to push and lean so far into fear that you're actually making yourself sick. There's nothing good happens in the comfort zone. But also, I don't think things really good happen too, because you're pushing your brain, your mind, and your soul, your body too hard when you're leaning too much into fear. It's finding that you're just pushing outside.
Just leaning over.
And just leaning over. Yeah,
feeling
not
that
too
edge,
far.
feeling that fear.
Yes.
And I think it is, because I feel if you stay in that comfort zone too much, it becomes like a swamp or a quagmire that is stagnant, and it's not healthy because there's the same stuff in there.
Yes, exactly.
And if you lean out and you push in there's some new flow that can come in and clean out the stagnation. But if you go too far out, there's nothing at all, and you get confused and you get scared and you want to jump back into the stagnant pool.
Yes, all that.
100%.
Hey, my friend,
yeah. Thanks for your time. I thoroughly appreciate it.
I have to go. And my pleasure, absolutely my pleasure.
Let's do it again sometime.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day in Melbourne.
Will do. Until then, keep the flow growing, growth flowing. Adios.
Thanks, man.